Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Middle States Subcommittee reports that are being brought to you by the Queen Anne's County Public School System for QAC-TV. And I have with me here today Richard McNeal, who works at the central office as a supervisor of mathematics and other things. And Richard is here because not only is he the I guess you're the chair or the co-chair of the district-wide committee, but you also had a subcommittee chairmanship. You also had a subcommittee chair. You were also a subcommittee chair, and your subcommittee was the philosophy and mission for the Excellence by Design process that we used for the accreditation process. So you certainly know a whole lot more about this process than I do, and I think the philosophy and mission is at the heart of what we do. I can remember being involved in meetings over the past 8 months about the philosophy and mission, and it really, I can say I know that you and your committee certainly worked very hard getting this philosophy and mission created. Can you take us back to that moment when you started to work on this committee and what was going on?
Well, Brad, the Board of Education has had a mission and a vision for how we're going to take our students forward into each era. And the last time we looked at this was over 10 years ago. So this is a great opportunity for us as a school system to go through that process and review it again. And we actually started in March of last year. Believe it or not, it's almost been a full year. And with that, we started looking at what is our vision? What do we want our students to go into the 21st century? We began in the spring. We carried this through the summer and actually into the fall with over 21 meetings with different groups. And we had our district-wide committee had input. We had meetings and shared information with our math specialists, our reading specialists, our teaching specialists. We shared it with the administrative team of the county, all the while trying to take a look at what terms and what terminology can we use to bring this together and put it into a form that represents our feelings as a Board of Education for the school system and the students.
Sounds like so you have been involved in this since last March. So we are talking about close to a year. Can you tell us who have been traveling down this road with you? Who's on the committee and who have you been?
Well, the main folks on the committee, the initial nucleus of the committee was Ann Thomas. She's our co-person on this. A couple of the supervisors, Kathy Draper, Mr. Waits, Willie Waits. We started out with that and Tina Thomas, all of the supervisors out of the central office, to start generating and looking at our old, if you will, our old vision and our old mission, and then where we were in terms of the 21st century. Skills are changed. That gave us a vision, in a sense. What do we need to do to get our children for the new skills for the 21st century? So we started with that nucleus, and actually all those different groups that we shared it with became a part of that committee, because each one of them modified it, gave us suggestions, gave us opportunity to rethink some things. Some of them challenged as to why we were thinking in that way, which I think made us look back at saying, okay, let's tweak this a little bit more. And as I said, we had over 21 meetings and sharing that over the course of that time with all those groups, each one of them having input back to the original committee. And as I said, it almost involved with everybody in that whole committee.
Well, now, who were some of the committees? Who were some of the people that you met with? I know you met with our leadership team.
We met with the teacher specialists at the schools, the reading specialist, the math specialist. We met with the mentor teaching group, since a lot of them are our retired teachers who have come back and worked with our younger teachers. We met with as you said, the administrative group. We met with the district-wide committee, which included parents and representative of businesses. So we had community input as best we could on that. I'm in the process of sharing this information with all the student leaders of the schools. Now, they didn't have input in terms of developing it, but we want to make sure that each of the schools and the leadership, like the student government, the class officers at the high school level, and at the middle school level, the officers there, they have a grasp of what we're trying to get across here. In fact, we are just in the process of printing a brochure. I'm not sure you all in the television land can actually see that, but these will be out in businesses and in schools, which summarize this whole the end result of what we have there.
So, and so what you were doing, you were building consensus over these past number of months, and
Yes.
it does. So you didn't just sit down with a few people behind closed doors, create a vision and a mission, and say, here it is. What you did was you
Absolutely not.
Right.
If it had been that easy, it would have been done in a short period of time, perhaps, but it wouldn't have had the quality that we feel that we have right now.
Mm-hmm.
As I said, the more folks and the more groups that we shared it with, it gave us more insight in terms of being as specific as we can without being very wordy. We're trying to make this something that is succinct in its wording, but yet carries a mission and the vision all the way out to everybody. The profile of the graduate probably took one of the longest parts of that in terms of what do we want our graduates, of someone who goes through Queen Anne's County schools, what do we want them to have when they finish, above and beyond just the book knowledge and the experiences of hands-on materials that they might be doing. But what do we really want them to carry into their next level of experiences, whether it be going to college, whether it be going to a trade school, whether it be going out to the world of work or the armed forces. We want them to be prepared for as much as we possibly can. And that generated an awful lot of discussion in all of these groups.
Well, it sounds like, I can imagine there are a lot of people that had a variety of opinions about what they think a profile of a graduate should look like. Now, is this a list that you came up with? I mean, I can see it there. Is it what does that profile sort of look like structurally?
Well, it looks like we have 6 broad categories, and underneath those categories we have bulleted comments about those that express those. For instance, just the very first one, being a quality contributor with a strong work ethic. Mm-hmm. We would like to think that our graduates are going to go out into the world of work and college with the idea of taking on a task and completing it to the best of their ability. Another one would be able to persevere and problem solve, with the idea that when they leave high school, they should not feel that they have completed their education, that they are going to have to learn and change on any job. With the technology programs that are changing almost daily, they're going to have to learn how to grow and persevere in that process.
So as you were building this consensus in all for the vision, for the mission statement, and the profile of a graduate, were there any particular challenges that came to mind? I mean, what was the most difficult part of the process for you, Richard?
I think the most difficult part of the process, as I look back on that, is trying to say what we really feel in a concise manner. When you start generating thoughts about who you are in terms of a Board of Education in a public school system, you could jot down and fill a whole page worth of terms and words that describe that, but to try to put that into a few sentences that really has the meaning and conveys what you're doing, to me that was the biggest challenge of all. Mm-hmm.
Now, you mentioned that you're going to share this information with the student governments and the local schools. And how else are you planning on sharing this information?
Well, we plan on, in each of the school buildings and in the central office, we will have all of these posted so that visitors coming in will see it. It'll be a reminder to us on a daily basis as we work in the different schools and so forth. We're going to have these brochures. We're going to be distributing them. They have been distributed to all the schools for the staffs. We're going to have copies in the schools for parents to examine and take home. We plan on putting some of these brochures in various areas around the county, such as banks and the library, for realtors, for the Chamber of Commerce. Anybody in the area, we would hope to be able to say, yeah, we have, this is us, this is who we are. We're also putting together some information to go out in the newspapers, some news releases about the process and what we've done to this point.
Are you almost done?
I think we're almost done.
Almost done.
Yes.
When does it end? When does this part actually? When are this is an accreditation? When does that process start?
Well, the process itself is already underway.
Right.
We have done a self-study in the county, and all that information has gone to a team of educators who will be coming to visit us the end of February for 4 days. They will be here, I want to say somewhere around February 28th through March 1st, and they will be meeting with different groups in the schools. They will be meeting with some students, some parents, some of the business folks. They'll be meeting with us on our committees and looking at who we say we are. And they're here more to just to examine, do we have a process of making change as we go forward? We know that any document that we write today, next year needs to be relooked at. 5 years from now, it needs to be looked at. It needs to be an ongoing evolution, an ongoing process.
Richard, I have one more question because I know you're getting ready to meet with some students after this interview. We don't want to keep the kids waiting. But my last question for you is, looking as you reflect on this process and all the hard work that you and your committee have done, what would you say is the one thing that stands out as something like, well, you know, I really didn't know that, or this is something that I learned?
Looking at the whole process and even beyond the committee that I was heading up, I think the aha moments are, one, that we are doing quite a few things in a real positive manner. Doesn't mean we don't have room for growth, but we're doing a lot of good things for our students, and we do have a process to keep us moving down the road to looking down, you know, even 10 years from now. And you know, when you stop and think 10 years from now, it's going to be 2022, and you think back 10 years, it doesn't seem like it's been that long since it was the year 2000, and here we are at 2012 already. Mm-hmm. So time marches on, and it does change. But the aha moment was that, you know, we've got some good people doing some great things, and it shows up on our surveys, it shows up on our curriculum documents, it shows up on our assessments that we're using. We've got room to grow. We've got student populations that we want to challenge and get them to excel at a higher layer. And we have student populations that are struggling, and we want to help them through those struggles.
Okay. Well, that was wonderful. And I'd like to thank, again, Richard McNeal, the co-chair of the district-wide committee for the Middle States Accreditation process for the Queen Anne's County Public School System, and also the subcommittee chair for the Philosophy and Mission. I want to thank him for all his hard work and for being here today.
Okay. Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Good luck.
Yes.
Hello, everyone. My name is Brad Engel. Welcome to another segment of Excellence by Design. It's a Middle States Subcommittee report that we're doing for the Queen Anne's County Public Schools for QAC-TV, and we do appreciate this opportunity to present the great work that our subcommittees are doing as we reach for accreditation in the month of February as a school system from the Middle States Association. I'm here today with Bonnie Dixon. Bonnie is a supervisor here at the supervisor instruction here at the central office, and Bonnie was given the opportunity to be a subcommittee chair for the educational programs. And so Bonnie, first of all, welcome to the program.
Thank you.
Can you tell us what that means? What is involved in educational programs?
Well, first of all, it's standard number 7.
Standard number 7.
In the accreditation process. And it simply means that we have to evaluate our educational program based on the curriculum and the educational pedagogy to ensure that all students are receiving a quality education that can be measurable, and that there also is evidence that there's growth, that there's consistency, that in not only the curriculum but in the instruction and the assessment.
So, Bonnie, take us back to the beginning of this process and how it all started, how you got involved as the chair, and sort of the things you did at the outset to get the ball rolling.
All right. The process started over a year ago, and it was presented to Curriculum and Instruction and to the A&S group as well. And we were looking at accreditation for a district-wide purpose rather than individual schools. Typically in the past, the high schools had to go through an accreditation process. But with what we're doing now with the district, and incidentally we're the first district in the state of Maryland to do this, all of the schools, every single school, K through 12, elementary, middle, and high schools will be accredited. And that means that we are looking at a higher standard because we are a high-performing school system. And we, with the education section of this, with standard number 7, that we're going to be identifying and through a self-assessment, which we incidentally have already done, effective ways for teachers to ensure that instruction takes place. An assessment indicates the level at which students will demonstrate their knowledge of processes, skills, and content.
Okay, so let's talk about this self-assessment. From what I understand, that you had some surveys. Can you talk about those surveys?
Became the survey queen.
That's right.
How it started out was through volunteer to work on various committees, certainly, and with the Curriculum and Instruction Division of Queen Anne's County Public Schools. We were on the front line to head up the committees, and so I did volunteer to do the educational program. And that started with selecting or asking for volunteers from principals and supervisors, academic deans, and teacher specialists, teachers, community members, to serve on various committees. And a matrix was set up so that we could write in people who had volunteered to work on the committees, and based on what they had to offer and based on their availability. So that's really how it started out.
Now, you surveyed, I understand you surveyed parents.
We had 3 surveys that went out. The first survey that went out was a parent survey, and we received just an overwhelming amount of responses for that, all very, very favorable. The second survey that went out, and incidentally, all these surveys were done electronically, so they were done through the schools, and they were also done through the website, the Queen Anne's County Public School website, where you could click on a link and go to the survey. The second survey was done by students before school was out, and we determined through administration and supervision that we would serve for the elementary portion of the educational program 4th graders. So all 4th graders in Queen Anne's County Public Schools took the survey. And then at the middle school level, it was determined through A&S that it would be 7th grade. So all 7th graders received the survey. And those surveys were done at the school level. students had the opportunity to go into computer labs to log on to the survey instrument and actually take the survey. And then the final survey was staff, and we did the staff survey after the 2011-2012 school year began. And that way we would be able to incorporate new staff members who will be an integral part of this whole process. And following that, then we had the all of them were compiled and sent back to me and to all the other chairpersons of the various standards and committees.
So you had,
Also
so for all
access.
12
Yes.
subcommittees, you were doing these surveys from all 3 different groups, and then you were taking the data and you were sharing it with them and compiling it. That sounds like a huge undertaking.
Exactly. Well, it was, but we had our technology group. Carl Hagelin was wonderful in analyzing the data and putting it in a format that was very user-friendly. So instead of breaking it down into little pieces, everyone had all of the data from all of the survey, and then they could pull out whatever they needed in order to complete their analysis of their particular standard.
And you had data for your particular
Yes.
program as well.
Yes.
Can you talk about that data, some things that kind of stuck out in your mind as you looked it over?
It was very interesting because overwhelmingly from parents, from students, and from staff members, it was overwhelmingly favorable. And I'm talking about 90% to 100% favorable toward the responses in the educational program. Parents felt that their children were receiving a wonderful education, that at each level, grade level, the students felt like they were being prepared. Elementary students felt that they were being prepared for middle school. Middle school students felt that they were being prepared for high school. High school students felt they were being prepared for the college or career. And so that was what was so wonderful for us, to get that data back and to know that all the efforts that we have put into, and the dedication and the commitment of wonderful teachers and administrators and support personnel, that everyone felt that Queen Anne's County Public Schools was doing a fabulous job.
It sounds like the results were very favorable.
Yes.
Were there any areas that in your subcommittee, as you looked at the data, that maybe needed some improvement?
Yeah, the area of improvement that we need, and this is across the board, but particularly in the education program, is technology, because we live in a technological era, and all our kids are used to technology. Most children have some kind of technology at home. There's technology in the school. Curriculum is being delivered through technology, at times depending upon the content. And so we have to ensure that as we're planning for the future, that we're incorporating technology into not only the instructional piece, but the equipment itself, and that there's equity, that all students have an opportunity to have the same kind of experience, educational experience, that technology would require or allow.
And finally, one more question. As you look back on the process and you reflect back on the process, what kind of stands out as maybe an aha moment, or something that you learned, or something that something that you saw that maybe you hadn't really thought of before?
I think the one thing I was expecting as the chairperson of this to have to observe or to analyze negative comments that would be coming from the community, perhaps concerns from parents, concerns that we wouldn't be able to address, but that wasn't the case. It was just absolutely amazing that the majority was favorable. Now, that doesn't mean that there were not negative comments and that there were not areas of concern from parents and community members and areas of concern from students and from staff members. But it truly was a very small number of those responses. And I think that that was a real aha moment for me to know that what we do in Queen Anne's County is appreciated, is supported, and that we are moving in the right direction in order to prepare our students through our academic program for the future, for the 21st century. And we just need to ensure that that technology piece is going to be there for all students. So that was a real aha for me. It was more of an affirmation than anything else that we are doing a good job and that we have some incredibly dedicated people in this county who put children first and foremost.
Well said. Well, I want to thank you for all your hard work. I know that you helped me out with my particular subcommittee with the data. So I want to thank Bonnie Dixon, who was here today, and thank her for all her hard work. And we wish you luck as the process continues, doesn't it?
Thank you. Thank you. It does continue, yes. Thank you.
All right. We'll see you next time on the Middle State Subcommittee Reports.